The stars stretched into streaks of light outside the large window of the command deck. Commander Ethan Miller stood with his hands behind his back, watching as the exploration ship Horizon slowed from faster-than-light travel. His dark blue uniform fit neatly against his tall frame, the silver pins on his collar catching the light from the ship's control panels. "We're approaching Nexus Station, Commander," said Officer Lisa Johnson from her station. Her fingers moved quickly over the glowing screen. "The Concordat ships are moving into escort position." Ethan nodded. "Send the greeting message we prepared. Let's make a good first impression." This was humanity's big moment. After discovering faster-than-light travel only 15 years ago, humans had finally been invited to meet with the Galactic Concordat, a group of over 30 alien species who had been working together for thousands of years. Lisa sent the message and then frowned at her screen. "Commander, I'm picking up some strange communications between the escort ships. Can you translate it?" Lisa adjusted some settings on her panel. "The translation program is struggling, but I'm getting phrases like concerning human behavior patterns and potential for protocol violation." Ethan walked over to her station. "What kind of violations are they worried about?" "It seems related to something called biological separation protocols. They keep mentioning humans' lack of mating inhibitions." Lisa looked up at her commander with raised eyebrows. "Sir, I think they're worried we might try to date the aliens." A small laugh came from the science station where Dr. Sam Carter was working. "They're not wrong to worry. Humans will try to mate with anything that shows a hint of intelligence and consent. That's not the first impression we want to make, Dr. Carter," Ethan said firmly, though a small smile crossed his face. "Lisa, keep monitoring their communications. Sam, I want you to look up everything we have on these biological separation protocols." The Horizon continued its approach to Nexus Station, a massive structure that looked like a giant wheel turning slowly in space. Lights of many colors glowed from its thousands of windows, and ships of strange designs moved around it like fish around a reef. In his quarters, Engineer Joe Garcia checked his uniform in the mirror. This was his first deep space mission, and he never expected to be part of humanity's first diplomatic team. He was there to learn about alien technology, not to be a diplomat. "Just keep your mouth shut and fix things when they break," he told his reflection. "How hard can it be?" The ship docked with a gentle shudder. Ethan gathered his team in the meeting room for final instructions. "Remember, we know very little about these species and their customs," he said. "Our goal is simple: represent humanity well and secure our place in the Concordat. It means access to technologies and knowledge we can't even imagine." Dr. Sam Carter raised his hand. "I found some information about those protocols Lisa mentioned. According to our briefing packet, the Concordat has strict rules against interspecies relationships. They believe it leads to cultural contamination and biological instability." "That won't be a problem," Ethan assured him. "We're here as diplomats, not to find alien partners." The door to the station opened with a hiss. Ethan led his team through the airlock where 3 aliens waited. One looked almost human except for blue-tinted skin and silver eyes. Another was tall and insect-like with 4 arms and large compound eyes. The third was shorter, reptilian, with scales that shifted colors as it moved. "Welcome to Nexus Station," said the blue-skinned alien, her voice melodic through the translation device. "I am Lyra of the Telar. We are honored to receive the first human diplomatic mission." As the group exchanged formal greetings, Joe couldn't help noticing how gracefully Lyra moved. There was something about her silver eyes that seemed curious and kind. He quickly looked away when she glanced in his direction. None of the humans noticed the concerned looks exchanged between the insectoid and reptilian aliens, nor did they see how the insectoid tapped a message into its wrist device. Confirmed. The human showed the exact behaviors our scientists predicted. Recommend increased monitoring. The meeting room on Nexus Station was large and round. 7 different alien species sat at a curved table, with the human team on one end. Commander Ethan Miller tried to keep track of all the new names and species, but it was hard. The insect-like alien called itself Vex and seemed to be the leader. Humans have much to learn about Concordat ways, Vex said, its 4 arms moving in patterns as it spoke. Most important is understanding why we remain separate. Heather Mitchell, the cultural liaison officer, nodded and took notes on her tablet. Her job was to understand alien customs and help humans avoid mistakes. We are eager to learn, Ethan said. Humanity respects the traditions of the Concordat. Vex's large compound eyes reflected the light in the room. This is not just tradition. It is science. When species mix too closely, problems happen. Cultures break down. Biological systems fail. Dr. Sam Carter leaned forward. You mean genetic incompatibility? More than that, said the reptilian alien named Zorn. His scales shifted from green to orange as he spoke. The Concordat has peace because each species keeps to itself. We trade, we talk, we help each other. But we do not mix our bodies or our ways of life. Ethan noticed how everyone in the room seemed uncomfortable just talking about the idea. Even Lyra, who had been friendly before, now looked at the floor. We understand, Ethan said firmly. Humans will respect these boundaries. After the meeting, the human team was shown to their quarters. Each person had a small room in the human section of the station. The Concordat had prepared the air, gravity, and food to match Earth conditions. Joe Garcia unpacked his tools in the engineering lab he would share with alien technicians. He was excited to learn about their technology. The door opened and Lyra walked in. You are the human engineer, she said. Her silver eyes studied him with interest. Yes, Joe Garcia. He held out his hand without thinking. Lyra looked at his hand, but didn't take it. We do not touch other species, she explained. But I understand this is a human greeting. She gave a small bow instead. Joe dropped his hand, his face warming with embarrassment. Sorry, I forgot. It is your first day. You will learn. Lyra moved to a workstation. I am to show you our power systems. You will find them different from human technology. For the next few hours, Lyra explained the station's energy grid. Joe was amazed. The aliens used physics concepts that Earth scientists had barely begun to explore. He asked many questions, and Lyra seemed pleased by his interest. You learn quickly for a human, she said. Is that a compliment or an insult? Joe asked with a smile. Lyra's blue lips curved slightly. An observation. In another part of the station, Dr. Sam Carter met with alien scientists. They showed him research about why species should remain separate. The studies were thousands of years old, and no one questioned them anymore. Has anyone ever tried to disprove these findings? Sam asked. The alien scientists stared at him in shock. One of them, a floating jellyfish-like creature, turned dark purple. Why would we try to disprove what keeps peace? It asked. That night, the human team gathered in Ethan's quarters to share what they had learned. They're serious about this separation, Heather said. It's the foundation of their whole society. Their technology is amazing, Joe added. We can learn so much from them. If they let us, Sam said. I get the feeling they're watching us closely, waiting for us to break their rules. Ethan nodded. Then we don't break them. We're guests here. We follow their ways. Later, Joe couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the power systems Lyra had shown him. He had more questions. He checked the time. The station was in its night cycle, but the labs were always open. He walked through the quiet corridors to the engineering section. When he entered the lab, he was surprised to find Lyra still there, working alone. She looked up, her silver eyes wide with surprise. Joe Garcia, you should be resting. I had more questions, he said, about the quantum field converters. Lyra hesitated, then moved aside to make room at her workstation. I will answer, but we should not be alone together. It is not done. We're just talking about engineering, Joe said. Yes, Lyra agreed. Just engineering. Neither noticed the security camera in the corner, its light blinking as it recorded them. Vex called an emergency meeting the next morning. Ethan and his team sat across from the alien representatives. The air in the room felt tense. "We have concerns," Vex said, its voice clicking through the translator. "One of your humans was seen alone with a tailor during rest hours." All eyes turned to Joe, who sank lower in his seat. "We were discussing engineering," he said. "Nothing more." Zorn's scales turned a dark red. "Intent does not matter. Rules exist for good reasons. The very act of being alone creates danger." Ethan looked at Joe with disappointment. "On behalf of my team, I apologize. It won't happen again." After the meeting, Ethan pulled Joe aside in the corridor. "What were you thinking?" "I had questions about their technology," Joe explained. "I didn't know it would cause such a problem." "Everything we do here matters," Ethan said. "Earth is counting on us to make this work. No more private meetings with aliens." "That's an order." Joe nodded, feeling both embarrassed and confused. He hadn't done anything wrong, yet everyone acted like he had committed a serious crime. In the science lab, Dr. Sam Carter reviewed the studies the aliens had shown him. The more he read, the more questions he had. He requested access to the original research data, but the alien scientists seemed reluctant. "These conclusions aren't supported by the evidence," Sam muttered to himself as he read. "It's all theoretical models, not actual test results." The lab door opened and Zorn entered. The reptilian scientist watched Sam for a moment before speaking. "You question our research," Zorn said. It wasn't a question. Sam looked up. "I'm trying to understand it. These papers say interspecies contact causes harm, but they don't show how or why." Zorn moved closer, his voice lowered. "Because no one has tested it in thousands of years. The risk is too great. So you've based your entire society on untested theories?" Sam asked. Zorn's scales rippled with colors. "I did not say that." He glanced around to make sure they were alone. "There is more to this story. Meet me in storage room B7 after the evening meal." "Come alone." Later that day, Joe was fixing a power relay when Lyra entered the room. 2 other alien engineers followed her. She barely looked at Joe. "The human needs to see the primary coolant system," she told the others. "I will show him." Joe followed Lyra to another section of the engineering bay. The other engineers stayed behind. "I'm sorry about the trouble," Joe said when they were out of earshot. "It is my fault too," Lyra replied. Her silver eyes met his briefly. "But I wanted to tell you. Not all Taylor agree with the strict separation rules. The younger generations question the old ways." Joe was surprised. "You do." "Some of us." She lowered her voice. "There is no proof that different species cannot be friends or more. It is just fear passed down for generations." A noise from behind made them both turn. Another Taylor engineer stood watching them, his expression cold. "The coolant system is this way," Lyra said loudly, moving away from Joe. "Do not touch the control panel, human." That evening, Sam Carter made his way to storage room B7. The station corridors were quiet. He found Zorn waiting for him in the dimly lit room, surrounded by containers of supplies. "What I tell you must remain secret," Zorn said. "The separation protocols began after a great war, not because of scientific evidence. The founder species feared each other, so they created rules to keep distance." "A war?" Sam asked. "Not genetic incompatibility. The science came later to support what was already decided." Zorn pulled out a data crystal. "This contains real biological research I've done in secret. Some species might actually benefit from genetic diversity that interspecies relationships could provide." Sam took the crystal. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because your kind asks questions. The Concordat needs questions after so much time without them." Zorn's scales shifted to a deep blue. "The Taylor, especially, face a genetic disorder that is killing them slowly. Their genetic pool is too limited." "And you think human DNA might help?" Sam asked. It might, but suggesting this would be seen as heresy. Zorn moved toward the door. That is why no one must know we spoke. As Zorn left, Sam looked at the crystal in his hand. This small object could change everything, if he dared to use it. The next few days were tense on Nexus Station. News about Joe and Lyra's private meeting had spread among the aliens. Some now watched the humans with suspicious eyes. Others avoided them completely. Heather Mitchell, the cultural liaison, tried to repair the damage. She scheduled meetings with representatives from each species to explain human customs. In one such meeting, she faced a group of jellyfish-like aliens who floated in tanks of blue liquid. On Earth, working alone with someone is normal, Heather explained. We don't see it as inappropriate. The largest jellyfish pulsed with light. We have studied your Earth media. Humans constantly seek mates from different groups. Your stories are full of it. Those are just stories, Heather said. Fiction. Why create stories about something if you do not desire it? Another alien asked. Heather struggled to answer. How could she explain human imagination to beings who only created practical art? Meanwhile, Dr. Sam Carter worked late into the night studying Zorn's data crystal. The information was shocking. Teeler DNA had a flaw that grew worse with each generation. Their bodies couldn't produce an important enzyme. In about 200 years, all Teller would die from this problem. But Sam found something else interesting. Human DNA had the gene for this enzyme. In theory, mixing human and Taylor genetic material could solve their problem. This changes everything, Sam whispered to himself. The next day, Sam met Commander Ethan in his private quarters. I need to show you something, but it must stay secret, Sam said. Ethan looked concerned but nodded. Sam explained what he had learned from Zorn and showed him the data. So the Concordat separation rules are based on old fears, not science, Ethan said when Sam finished. And the Teller are dying because of these rules. Yes, but we can't just tell everyone. The Concordat might kick us out for questioning their most basic belief. Ethan rubbed his forehead. Keep studying this. Say nothing to anyone else for now. In a different part of the station, Joe was eating lunch alone in the human section when Lyra appeared at his table. She sat down across from him, causing other aliens in the room to stare. You shouldn't be here, Joe said quietly. We're being watched. I don't care, Lyra said. Her blue skin looked paler than before. I need to tell you something. I'm sick. Joe looked at her with concern. What kind of sick? All Teller have a genetic problem. Mine is showing up early. Her silver eyes looked tired. I will die soon unless our doctors find a solution. Joe reached across the table without thinking and touched her hand. Lyra didn't pull away even though everyone was watching. I'm sorry, Joe said. Is there anything I can do? Before Lyra could answer, 2 security officers, 1 human and 1 Vexari, approached their table. This interaction is inappropriate, the Vexari said, its voice cold. You must separate immediately. As Lyra was led away, she looked back at Joe with sad eyes. He felt helpless watching her go. That evening, a group called the Purists held a meeting on the station. They were aliens who believed strongly in keeping species separate. Vex was their leader. The humans threaten our way of life, Vex told the crowd. They cannot control their desire to mix with other species. We have proof. On a large screen, Vex showed images of Joe touching Lyra's hand in the dining area. The crowd murmured with shock. This is only the beginning, Vex continued. If humans join the Concordat, our traditions will end. Our societies will collapse. In the back of the room, Zorn watched with growing concern. Things were getting out of control. He slipped away to find Dr. Sam Carter. When he reached the human section, he found Sam and told him about the Purist meeting. They're using your friend as an example of human danger, Zorn said, but we can prove them wrong with my research. It's too risky, Sam replied. More risky than letting them kick humans out of the Concordat? Zorn asked. We need to act now. Commander Ethan called an emergency meeting with his team. They gathered in his quarters, speaking in hushed voices. The situation is getting worse, Ethan said. The purists are gaining support. Some species want humans removed from the station. All because Joe and Lyra talked alone. Lisa asked. It's more than that now, Heather explained. They see us as a threat to their entire way of life. Sam cleared his throat. There's something you all need to know. He explained about the tailored genetic problem and showed them Zorn's research. So their sacred rule is based on lies. Lisa asked when he finished. Not lies exactly, Sam said. Fear. After the war, they created these rules to prevent future conflicts. Over time, the real reason was forgotten. Joe had been quiet, but now he spoke up. Lyra is sick. This genetic problem is killing her right now, not in 200 years. Everyone looked at him in surprise. How do you know that? Ethan asked. She told me yesterday, before we were separated. Joe's voice was tight with worry. She said her case is showing up early. Sam nodded slowly. Some tell her would show symptoms sooner than others. It's how genetic diseases work. Can we help her? Joe asked. Sam hesitated. Theoretically, yes. Human DNA could provide what she needs, but we would need the Concordat's permission, and they'd never agree. Ethan stood up and paced the room. This is bigger than one diplomatic mission. If we reveal this information, we could help the Taylor, but we might also start another conflict, or end thousands of years of fear, Heather said quietly. Their discussion was interrupted by a soft knock on the door. Ethan opened it to find Zorn waiting outside. You must come quickly, the reptilian said. Lyra has collapsed. She's in the medical bay. Joe jumped to his feet immediately. They followed Zorn through the quiet corridors of the station. In the medical bay, Lyra lay on a bed, surrounded by teller doctors. Her blue skin had turned a sickly gray color. What's wrong with her? Joe asked one of the doctors. The teller doctor looked at him with distrust. The enzyme deficiency has reached a critical stage. Her organs are shutting down. Can you help her? Joe asked. We can keep her comfortable, but there is no cure, the doctor said. Joe turned to Sam and spoke in a low voice. Tell them about your research. Sam shook his head. They won't listen to me. I'm an outsider. Then I'll tell them. Joe approached the teller doctor again. There might be a way to help her. Human DNA contains the gene for the enzyme she needs. The doctor stared at him in shock. That is impossible. Zorn stepped forward. It is not impossible. I have studied this. He held up a copy of his data crystal. The research is here. The doctor took the crystal reluctantly. Other medical staff gathered around as he reviewed the data. Their expressions changed from disbelief to surprise, then to cautious hope. Even if this is true, the head doctor said finally, such a procedure would violate our most sacred rules. Is your rule more important than her life? Joe asked. The doctor had no answer. Outside the medical bay, a crowd had gathered. News about Lyra's condition and the possible human solution had spread quickly. Vex pushed through the crowd, followed by security officers. This conversation is dangerous, Vex announced. The humans must return to their section immediately. They're trying to help, said a young tealer from the crowd. We should listen. Others joined in, some agreeing with the young tailor, others supporting Vex. The corridor filled with angry voices. Commander Ethan stepped between the groups. This isn't about politics or traditions, he said loudly. A person is dying. We have a way to help. Isn't that what matters most? The room fell silent. Even Vex had no immediate response. In that silence, the teller doctor spoke. I am a healer first, before I am a follower of rules. I will review this research properly. If there is a chance to save Lyra, we must consider it. For the first time since arriving at the station, Ethan felt a small spark of hope. Hours passed while the teller doctors studied the research. Joe refused to leave the medical bay. He sat beside Lyra's bed, watching her shallow breathing. Her skin had taken on a grayish-blue color, and her silver eyes remained closed. "You don't even know her," one of the nurses said to Joe. "Why do you care so much?" Joe looked up. "On Earth, we help people because they need help, not because we know them well." The nurse seemed confused by this answer, but said nothing more. In another room, the Teller Medical Council debated what to do. Zorn and Sam stood before them, answering questions about the research. "This procedure has never been tried," one doctor said. "It could kill her faster." "She will die without it," Zorn replied. "That is certain." "What exactly would this procedure involve?" asked the head doctor. Sam explained, "We would take genetic material from a human volunteer. Using your medical technology, we could isolate the gene that produces the missing enzyme. Then we would create a treatment to add this gene to Lyra's cells." "Not traditional mating," Zorn added quickly. "A medical procedure only." The council members looked at each other. One of them asked, "Who would be the human volunteer?" Sam hesitated. "We haven't discussed that yet." Meanwhile, in the station's main hall, a large crowd had gathered. Word about Lyra's condition and the possible human cure had spread to all species on the station. Many were arguing about what should be done. Vex stood on a platform addressing the crowd. "This is exactly what we feared. Humans want to mix with other species. They want to change us. They want to save a life." Someone shouted back. Commander Ethan pushed through the crowd with Heather and Lisa beside him. He climbed onto the platform next to Vex. "May I speak?" Ethan asked the crowd. Voices quieted as everyone waited to hear what the human commander would say. "I understand your fears," Ethan began. "Humans are new to you. Our ways seem strange, but we share something important with all of you. We care about life. Right now, one of your people is dying. We might be able to help, not by breaking your traditions, but by offering our medical knowledge." "It is the same thing," Vex interrupted. "You cannot separate your knowledge from your desire to blend with us." "We don't want to blend with anyone," Ethan said firmly. "We want to be part of the Concordat, to learn from you, to trade with you. But most of all, we want to help when we can." The crowd murmured. Some seemed moved by Ethan's words, while others still looked suspicious. Back in the medical bay, the council reached a decision. They entered the room where Joe sat with Lyra. "We will try the procedure," the head doctor announced. "But we need a human volunteer." "I volunteer," Joe said immediately. Sam looked concerned. "Joe, we don't know what this might do to you. There could be side effects." "I don't care," Joe replied. "She's dying. We have to try." The doctors led Joe to a separate room. They explained that they would need to take blood and tissue samples from him. The procedure would not be painful, but it would take time to prepare the treatment. As Joe sat in the medical chair, Lyra's family entered the room. Her father, an older tailor with deep blue skin, approached Joe. "Why are you doing this for my daughter?" he asked. "You barely know her." Joe thought for a moment. "Because it's the right thing to do. On Earth, we believe in helping others when we can. It's that simple." The older teller studied Joe's face carefully. "Perhaps we have misunderstood humans," he said finally. In the corridor outside, two young tellers whispered to each other. "If this works, everything will change," one said. "Maybe it needs to change," the other replied. "These separation rules are from an old time. Maybe it's time for something new." They fell silent as Vex walked past them with a group of purists. The insectoid's compound eyes seemed to glow with anger. "This cannot be allowed to continue," Vex said to his followers. "We must stop this procedure at any cost." The medical lab hummed with activity. Teeler doctors worked with Sam and human medical staff to prepare the treatment. They had taken blood and tissue samples from Joe and were now working to isolate the gene that produced the enzyme Lyra needed. Joe sat on a chair nearby, watching them work. A bandage covered his arm where they had taken the samples. "How long will this take?" he asked. A few more hours, Sam replied. The gene extraction is complex. Outside the lab, security officers stood guard. Commander Ethan had placed both human and friendly alien guards at all entrances after hearing about Vex's threats. In another part of the station, Vex met with high-ranking members of the Concordat. The insectoid was agitated, its four arms moving in quick, sharp motions. This human procedure violates our most basic laws, Vex said. It must be stopped. An elder Vexari with faded blue exoskeleton spoke up. The medical council has approved it. They believe it will save the teller female. At what cost? Vex demanded. If we allow this, what will humans ask for next? They will want to live among us, work with us, mate with us. Our distinct cultures will disappear. The elder was quiet for a moment. Perhaps it is time to question old beliefs. The separation protocols began after the Great War. They served to keep peace when trust was broken. But now, maybe they keep us from progress. Vex's compound eyes flashed angrily. You have been corrupted by human thinking already. Back in the medical bay, Lyra's condition was getting worse. Her breathing had become more labored, and her vital signs were weakening. The doctors worked faster. We're running out of time, one of them said. Finally, Sam held up a small vial of clear liquid. We've done it. The human gene has been isolated and prepared for transfer. The teller doctors took the vial and carefully added it to a larger solution. They brought the mixture to Lyra's bedside and connected it to her intravenous line. Everyone watched as the liquid slowly dripped into her arm. Now we wait, the head doctor said. Hours passed with no change. Joe refused to leave, even when others suggested he should rest. He sat beside Lyra's bed, sometimes talking to her quietly, though she couldn't hear him. On Earth, we have stories about people from different worlds finding each other, he told her. I never thought I'd be living in one of those stories. Suddenly, alarms began to sound throughout the station. Commander Ethan's voice came over the communication system. Security alert. A group of purists are attempting to enter the medical bay. All personnel, stay where you are. Security teams to medical section immediately. Joe looked up in alarm. Through the windows of the medical bay, he could see figures moving in the corridor. The security guards took defensive positions at the doors. They're coming to stop the procedure, Sam said. The head doctor checked Lyra's vital signs. It's too late. The treatment is already in her system. Either it works or it doesn't. The doors to the medical bay slid open. Security guards stood face to face with a group of purists led by Vex. Tension filled the air as neither side moved. Then something unexpected happened. From other corridors came more aliens. Tellers, Vexari, and members of other species. They positioned themselves between the purists and the medical bay. This has gone far enough, said a young tailor. We will not let you interfere with a medical procedure. This is about more than one life, another alien added. It's about whether we let fear rule us forever. Vex looked around at the growing crowd of opposition. Even some of his own Vexari stood against him now. You don't understand what you're risking, Vex said. We understand exactly what we're risking, replied Zorn, stepping forward, and what we might gain. Inside the medical bay, something changed. One of the monitors connected to Lyra began to beep differently. The doctor rushed to check the readings. Her enzyme levels, the doctor said with disbelief. They're rising. Joe moved closer. What does that mean? The doctor looked up, his silver eyes wide with amazement. It means the treatment is working. Her body is beginning to produce the enzyme on its own. Outside, the standoff continued. But inside, Lyra's blue eyelids fluttered. Then, slowly, they opened. Her silver eyes focused on Joe's face. What happened? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Joe smiled. We changed the rules. A week later, the main meeting hall of Nexus Station was filled with representatives from all species. The emergency session of the Concordat Council had been called to address what many were now calling the Lyra incident. Lyra herself sat in a special section with her family. Her blue skin had returned to its healthy color, and her silver eyes were clear and bright. Medical tests confirmed that her body was now producing the enzyme she needed. She would live a full, healthy life. Commander Ethan and his team sat on one side of the hall. Vex and his supporters sat on the opposite side. The tension in the room was thick. The High Elder of the Concordat, an ancient Vexari with pale green exoskeleton, called the meeting to order. His voice was soft, but carried throughout the hall. For thousands of years, we have lived by the separation protocols. They have kept peace among our species. Now we must decide if these rules should change. Vex stood to speak first. The humans have broken our most sacred law. They have mixed their genetic material with a tailor. This sets a dangerous example that could destroy our way of life. Murmurs filled the room. Some nodded in agreement. Others shook their heads. Next, Lyra's father stood. My daughter was dying. The humans saved her life. Their actions were not about mating or mixing species. They were about compassion and medicine. Zorn stepped forward with data displays. I have studied this case carefully. The procedure used a single human gene to correct a Teller genetic problem. It did not change who Lyra is. She is still Teller in every way that matters. The room erupted in debate. Some argued that any genetic mixing violated natural law. Others insisted that saving lives must come first. The discussion continued for hours. Finally, Joe asked to speak. He walked to the center of the hall and looked around at the alien faces. I'm just an engineer, not a diplomat, he began. But I want to tell you why I helped Lyra. On Earth, we have a saying, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It means treat others the way you want to be treated. If I were dying and an alien had the cure, I would hope they would help me. Joe paused and looked at Lyra. I didn't help Lyra because I wanted to change your society or break your rules. I helped because it was the right thing to do. That's all. The simple words seemed to affect many in the room. Even some of Vex's supporters looked thoughtful. Commander Ethan spoke next. Humans don't want to mate with every alien we meet. That's not why we came here. We came to learn, to share knowledge, and to be part of this amazing community of species. But we can't ignore suffering when we can help. The High Elder called for a vote. After much discussion, the council reached a decision. The separation protocols will be updated, the High Elder announced. Genetic procedures for medical purposes will be permitted when approved by the Medical Council. Cultural exchanges will be expanded, but traditional boundaries between species will be respected. Vex and some of his supporters left the hall in protest, but most remained ready to embrace the new rules. After the meeting, Lyra found Joe in the corridor. You changed everything, she said. Joe shook his head. Not me. It was all of us together. What happens now? She asked. Now we learn from each other, Joe said. We share knowledge, stories, and maybe someday, when everyone is ready, more than that. Lyra smiled. My people have a concept called soul resonance. It's a connection deeper than friendship, but different from mating. Perhaps that's where we start. Joe nodded. I'd like that. On the observation deck, Commander Ethan and Heather watched stars stream past the large windows. The Horizon Asterisk was preparing to return to Earth with news of the updated agreement. Do you think we did the right thing? Heather asked. I do, Ethan replied. We didn't come here to make aliens fall in love with humans. We came to build understanding. And that's exactly what happened. Below them in the docking bay, representatives from 6 different species prepared to board the Horizon Asterisk. They would be the first alien delegation to visit Earth. A new era of galactic relations had begun, not with humans mating any alien they wanted, but with something more important, mutual respect and compassion that transcended biological differences.